Hi everyone, I'm Echoes and I'm a VTuber, and I'm looking forward to talking about episode 4 of Hat Atelier, where we essentially enter the first mini arc where Kifri takes the girls to a nearby the closest witch town, which has a very cool and important shop called a magic stationery shop, and stuff happens. So yeah, let's get started. So in the beginning, we essentially have the typical book opening, as has been showcased in other episodes, and we get a brief explanation of some of the elements. There are many kinds of magic, but 4 are considered particularly important. So first is the sigil of water, which grants control to that nourishing force, the source of all life. And then we get turning stone to sand and sand to stone, enabling transformation and movement, the sigil of earth. That which frees us to visit distant realms, and it feels so much progress, the sigil of levitation. So essentially it's like the wind sigil. And that which has become humanity's sword and shield, the defensive one, the sigil of flame. Which is referred to these as the primary tetrad. And now you can see Kifri here is helping give Coco a lesson, so let's give them a try. And you can see that Coco's here with Tetia, and they're practicing their spells. And you see that Coco's still struggling a bit, but she's trying her best, and Tetia's helping by putting out the flames. The sigil of fire deals with formless phenomenon, so it could be dangerous. So he's just telling her to be careful. And and Tetia's asking, I thought you mastered levitation magic at the data range, which she did not. You were out there zooming around. As we know, she didn't use her boots specific. She did like the alternate method, so more like riding her broom than her boots. But yeah. Anyway, but then here she gives an explanation here where she said that I ruined the sylph shoes I got lent me at the time. I wanted to fix them up before returning them. So she's putting a little more care into these before she gives them back. You can tell she's put a lot of effort, and also she Kifri notices that she's somewhat struggling with the current pen that she was given, as different people need different weights and grips, so that as they have general preferences. And they call it the magic stationers here. It's an art supply store. So you can see that Coco's extremely excited to go. And then you can see that she's just needs some time to process with script opening, as we went over that before. And you can see we get this cool flight sequence here, where essentially Kifri is holding Coco and Agat, and because Coco doesn't have her own flight shoes, because she borrowed Agat's, and Agat essentially hers is still in repair, so she technically doesn't have hers either, while Tetia and Riche are flying using their own shoes. But yeah, now they're visiting Khan, which is the on that island on the sandbar. It's essentially the small town that surrounds that tower there. And then they arrive, which is really beautiful, this location, as they really focus on giving life to the witch society a bit more, as we get like small conversations among the townsfolk, which is really beautiful. See that these men talk about, getting used to their ink, and then Kifri gives a quick explanation. See there's a ton of witches walking around, just doing everyday things, and even these ladies are having conversation. You see that we get a huge diversity with types of witch hats and cloaks. And then Kifri gives an explanation of why this town's here is to protect the city from the moleworms in the marsh woods on the far bank. The witches built part of the sandbar into an island to support a watchtower. Witches started to gather here. It grew into Atelier town, and you can see that Regi's commenting that Coco's not listening, and then Agat is doing her own thing on the side because she's not doesn't want to be a tour guide for Coco. And we get some interesting perspective changes here too. You can see that Kifri is asking her about God, and she essentially says that I really wish we could be closer, but they need a bit more time. You can see some nice scenes in the background here about showing the diversity of the witches that live here, which is very nice. And you can see that she then spots the Brimhat in the shadows in this alley here, and then she meets her teacher and her and Tetia at the Starry Sword, which is the shop that they were going to. I believe in the I don't know if this I don't know if the name is called Star Sword or it's called Sword of Stars. It's like one of them. In the I believe in the scanlation. So that's kind of interesting that they kind of abbreviate the name here. And you can see they enter, and we get this really large silverwood tree in the center, which is a pretty important integral tree to this world. And you can see that I don't often see a witch's apprentice wonderstruck by a silverwood tree. You don't know something so elementary. And then you can see that, and then Kiefer introduced her as the famous, very recent apprentice. And they do forgive me, dearie. And he essentially says all the components here were made by me and my grandson Tartar. Tartar. Tartar plays a bit of a more important role later on, but regardless, we are introduced to him here. And you can see that she's looking for proper tools and stuff, and she kind of is going up the stairs here. And she gets a close look at the silverwood tree here. And you can see that she's admiring it. And you can see that the old man here, I believe his name's Nolnoa, I think. And he's doing a demonstration where he quickly always goes over how the magic ink is created. So the branches are silvery white when they're healthy. It's toxic in that state, both to the tree and to humans. But once we dissolve it in water, then strain out the excess, we got ourselves crude conjuring ink, the source of all magic. Regular ink is made from the soot that's produced when you burn normal wood. It's made from the cruer, the literal blood of the tree. So silverwoods are extremely important trees to witches. For some reason, it's the only tree that which we can extract the magic ink. This is due to a legend that says that long ago, let's see, I believe a silverwood tree fell in love with a witch. It offered its blood to be ink and its branches to be wands. So did he come here to buy a wand? And she did, so he's helping giving her a bottle of some ink to work with. And he gives it to her. I'm sure you'll find the perfect wand. I like lighter wands myself. And you can see that we get this very creepy shot of Egwin, who was the Brimhat that she met back when she was a child. And Coco essentially rushes out, seeing him. And then he's like, and then Tetia and Reach are like, what do we do? She'll get lost, we leave her on her own, so they try to follow her essentially. You can see that a guy here is looking at shoes because her current pair's not working because Coco's trying to fix it. And then they're like, oh, we gotta catch up with Coco and stuff, and we get this very long chase scene. I really like though that they put a lot of emphasis on the different variety of environments here. And what I also really like this scene here, where you could tell that she's essentially going into the dark side in this really, really vast town, which is impressive. It's just loading. 1 second. Probably a lot of people using the website. Okay, and then the girls disappear in essentially a cloud, a smoky fog that temporarily appears and goes away, and you can see the brush bug isn't able to keep up with them. And then Agat's like, "Where are you going?" And then she was trying to chase after the one who gave her the forbidden magic book. And then they realize that they're in this completely different area. You may be right. So this is where we get the one of the coolest environments of the show, where essentially they're in this like humongous maze of sorts. And they're definitely not in the town they used to be. So they somehow teleported here via forbidden magic because they, didn't realize that no tools were used, essentially. And you can see that they see something, and you see Gwen's like, I know business with the others, but well, and essentially he welcomes her to the world of magic here. And they see this humongous dragon, which is a pretty what do I call it? It's a pretty iconic scene from the manga as well, when the girls meet the dragon for the first time. Coco welcomed the world of magic. And they can see that Kiefer is like, I could spend all day looking here, da da da. And like, not the sort of girls who would run off without saying thank you. And then Tarta explains to them that, um, essentially explained that that Coco ran off following a witch that had a mask that looked like an eyeball. And then you can see Kiefer's like, oh my, it's a Brimhat. And then they meet the dragon right here. I think it's kind of a mix of a 2D, 3D. You get kind of tell when it transitions, but regardless, like, I appreciate the effort they're putting in. See, they're backing away slowly, making sure not to keep their eyes off of it before running away. And then you can see that Agat uses a fire spell here. And then then she explains how this little notebook can be used to write spells ahead of time, and then you close them when you need them. They reach a dead end. You can see that Teti is panicking, and Coco obviously is feeling bad and will find a way. And then they're trying to find a way to break through the dead end here. And then you can see, of course, Coco feels regret for having dragged her friends in. And you can see that Teti uses a spell here to animate her cloak so that the dragon is distracted for a bit. And then you can see Coco notices this very intricate design here, which she wants to tell Agat about, but she ends up distracting Agat when she's drawing a spell, which obviously upsets her. And you can see that she gets really angry. It's like, turning your mother's putting us in, it's all your fault. That sort of thing. And then we gotta find another way. And then looks like Riche, the good thing though is that Riche was able to fix the issue and then essentially resolve things. And then they're moving forward. And you can see that Coco obviously is not feeling amazing about this. She feels really bad. It's like, what should I do, Master Kiefer? And you can see now Kiefer's looking for the girls. They're not anywhere outside, at least. And then he's surprised that the Brimhats will make their appearance here. And then you can see that we get a sneak peek at Tarta's vision. So the thing about Tarta, he's a little special because he essentially has a form of magical color blindness, essentially, where he can only see monochromic values, if I can remember correctly. So he can't see anything with color. So that was one of the room cats, and you can see I wouldn't have dreamed one would come here. And then now we get the more of explanation of the Brimhats, which are a bygone faction that was hats from bygone era, essentially traditional witch hats. But I didn't expect to come to her. And then Kiefer asks Tarta if he remembers anything else. He's like, nope. And you can see that Tarta also has gray eyes because of his color blindness as well. And Kiefer's hoping that Coco lead them more clues. And then you can see that Kiefer meets Brushbug here, who leads him to where they disappeared. Yeah, and then we get the end of the episode. And then next we'll continue with their current location, the Dragon's Labyrinth. But yeah, overall, nothing too crazy here. It's mostly just a setup episode, really. So nothing too particularly detailed, but regardless, it's nice that we get an introduction to the I guess the what do you call it? The witch's stationer, or the magic stationer. Sorry, that's the word. Essentially, it's the magical item shop. Essentially, it's very similar to the wand shop from Harry Potter. So it evokes a very similar feeling to that, with a bit more stuff, of course. It's going to be getting introduced to the Silver Witchery, which is integral to the witch's world. We also get the beginning of the adventure of the first proper adventure with the four apprentices as they get transported because of the Brimhat to a labyrinth with a dragon. So yeah, next episode we'll probably focus on the details of whether they can escape properly from this labyrinth or not. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I believe it's going to be probably one of the most intense episodes. If I can remember, I think either episode 5 or 6 was highlighted to be very popular with one of the, I guess, the animation director or one of the animators showcased in the interview with Bug Films on Witch Hat Atelier. But yeah, regardless, I'm looking forward to this as this is a pretty vital arc to the series so far. So yeah. Anyway, that's all from me, and thanks for watching. Looking forward to continuing next week.